Be honest. If I were to hand this album to a 16 or 17-year-old today, would they just nod their head, say cool, and then go back to scrolling on TikTok or YouTube Shorts? Are we officially the old people screaming, "Get off my lawn," or randomly screaming at clouds? I mean, are we now the generation that's become a museum exhibit? Look, every generation thinks their music is timeless. We all believe it's different. We all believe it's better, that it will somehow escape time itself. But it never does. Look, today I want to talk about why we love the music we love and how our parents may have accidentally programmed it into our heads, and why young people look at it and just go, yeah, I don't get it. This is a perfect example. I grew up listening to the Beatles with my parents. My parents loved the Beatles. I listened to all my mom's Beatles albums. And then when I got old enough, I got my own Beatles albums. But you know who listens to the Beatles? People our age, people in their 50s, 60s, or maybe even older. You know who doesn't listen to this? Everybody I work with under the age of 30. They just listen to streaming. Yep, streaming. They all say, I see all that cool stuff, but isn't it a pain to have to run it all, to time this, time that, to take your needle over and drop it on the record? I say, yeah, but that's part of it. And they look at me and they say, I don't get it. Most of the people I know, most of the people my age didn't discover this music on their own. I mean, maybe you did. But for most of us, it was just there. It was playing in the house. It was playing in the car. It was Sunday mornings. It was Sunday morning drives. Or it was those drives where your parents controlled the radio and you had no say in the matter. Stuff like the Eagles' Desperado. I love this album. I got it for Christmas when I was 7 years old, and I hated it. I hated that I got the Eagles. I wanted something else, probably Star Wars related. But the music back then, the Eagles, the Beatles, it wasn't classic rock. It was music. It was new to them. Or let's say something like the Sex Pistols. When things started to change, it was different. It pissed your parents off. They didn't get it. They got the music they grew up listening to. You know, real music, like the Beach Boys or Frank Sinatra. Both bands I love myself. But you know who doesn't love these bands? The kids I work with, the kids I tattoo. They could care less about the Sex Pistols. That's my grandfather's music, they often tell me. Well, Heart or bands like Phil Collins or, yep, Steely Dan, they weren't bands or brands. They were the soundtracks to our childhood. Now, to some of us, Led Zeppelin wasn't a legacy act. They hadn't broken up yet. Nobody died. Led Zeppelin was the band that your uncle played loud. The music that maybe your dad played loud or your mom. We rolled our eyes. Sometimes we plugged our ears. Maybe we snuck over and turned it down. When I found out about this band, Pink Floyd, I thought it was amazing. And there was already a huge catalog. But you know what people who loved Pink Floyd said to me when Roger Waters left the band? That's not Pink Floyd. That's what they told me. Pink Floyd is Dark Side of the Moon. Pink Floyd is The Wall. Pink Floyd isn't a momentary lapse of reason. Well, guess what? That's changed. I remember seeing the Momentary Lapse of Reason tour. I was an usher at the time at the venue they played, and I thought it was amazing. But did I pay attention like I probably should have? Probably not. I should have been glued to that stage, but instead I was more concerned about the money I was making that day. Or music like ZZ Top's first album. here in a recent repressing from Rhino High Fidelity. I also have the box sets. You know why? I love ZZ Top. There's a huge catalog of music. And you know what I hear people say today? That's not ZZ Top anymore. One of the members has died. It's his guitar tech filling in for him. But if you were to ask a 16 or 17-year-old that thinks ZZ Top is cool, they probably couldn't tell you that a member has died. They probably wouldn't know that that's their longtime guitar tech who grew a beard. You know why? Because it doesn't matter. They love the music. They honor the memory of the band. And so the music lives on for us. But there's always something different. I remember when this came along, grunge, Temple of the Dog, recently repressed. Didn't have it, had to get it on vinyl. I remember my parents rolled their eyes. I remember my parents said, turn it down. But we wanted something that felt like it was ours. This was ours. Stuff like this was our parents'. Now, this is a later Neil Young album. Even my parents might have said, oh, I remember Neil Young. He played with Crosby, Stills, and Nash. He's fantastic. Maybe that bummed us out a little because we wanted this Neil to be our Neil, just like we wanted grunge to be our grunge, not our parents. But here we are. It's 2025. There's always something different, whether it's rap, new wave, electronic, trip hop, you name it. Whatever spoke to our generation was our music. Now, I don't pretend to understand K-pop. I don't listen to any of it. But you know who does? The people I meet. Everybody under my age who views me as a grandpa. They love K-pop. Am I ever going to own it? No, can't see myself ever buying it. Or Taylor Swift, for that matter. It's just not my thing. But we weren't betraying others. We were becoming ourselves by choosing the music we love. I got into the Rolling Stones at a rather late age, although my mom did play the Stones a lot. The only band tattoo I have, the famous Rolling Stones tongue. But when Keith Richards came out with his solo tour right before Steel Wheels, you know who got into it? This guy. You know who loves this album? This guy. You know who saw this tour? This guy. I even got a shout out from the old man. Yep. You know why? Soul Asylum opened. The show in Detroit that I caught for Keith Richards' Talk is Cheap had Soul Asylum. And when Keith came out, he said, this next song's for that kid, the kid who knew all the words to the Soul Asylum songs. I lost my mind. There's one of my heroes, my new heroes, telling me he appreciated that I appreciated and learned the songs for their opening band. That meant something. Our parents and our grandparents had their own music. It might have been big band. It might have been folk. It might have been the hippie movement. But we had ours. We had grunge. We had metal. We had the pop era of great music. And we had music that became our own music, like Stone Temple Pilots, here in a very expensive, very fancy version from Lo-Fi. This sounds fantastic. But you know what? It's probably way more than any kid I've met recently would buy a record for. I happen to buy it because I happen to have a little extra money that day. Normally, I can't afford expensive Lo-Fi records. I just don't have the money. I'm trying to keep a roof over my head, my wife's head, and my pets fed. But to kids today, they just don't connect. Led Zeppelin to them is history. The Beatles, it's more like homework. Steely Dan, it's a joke meme. It's something to make fun of. And streaming changed everything. No liner notes, no album sides, no getting up and flipping because it's only 30 minutes per side. It's vibes algorithms and momentum to them. Albums used to be objects. You held them, you studied them, you lived with them. Now music is infinite. So if Guns N' Roses is old music, dinosaur music to them, what do you think Billy Squier is to them? I'll bet you most of them haven't even heard of Billy Squier. They didn't grow up with The Stroke while they were roller skating on a Saturday afternoon. But at least they know who Led Zeppelin and Guns N' Roses are. But does that mean it's all old to them? Seems like it. Or bands like Nirvana. I've actually heard people say, you mean that band where the guy offed himself? So depressing. He should have seen a therapist. He should have found help. Well, you see, music has changed. To them, it's just relationships with the sound of their life, the phone in their pocket, the earbuds in their ears. So here's the question. Do you think they're going to go back even further? Do you think they're going to collect reel-to-reels? Do you think they're going to have access to reel-to-reels? I don't think so. I mean, I've got hundreds of reels, and I put music on them all the time. Write them down, stick them in the box, and save it so I know what it is. Seems like too much work for them to do, and I get it. They just don't have access nor interest in this kind of thing. So ask yourself, next time you're spinning a record or putting on a reel-to-reel or throwing in an 8-track or a cassette tape, ask yourself this: are we the dinosaurs? So the truth is this: the music doesn't need young people's approval to matter. It already did its job. If you and I love the music we love, that's good enough. I don't ask for anybody's approval for the bands I collect. I know which ones you're not interested in because you don't watch my videos on those subjects, while other videos on subjects you like, you watch. Music shapes us. It connects us. It basically means you are you and I am me. I'm not trying to convince anyone otherwise. I'm not trying to make you love the bands. I just want to understand why it matters and who it matters to. So I'm curious, what bands did your parents pass down to you? Is there new music that you're listening to? Let me know in the comments. I really would like to know, because when these subjects enter my brain, it's hard to get them out until I make one of these. And hopefully you agree it's worth discussing. Thank you everyone for watching. Welcome to the AV room if it's your first time, or welcome back to the AV room if it's your newest time. I appreciate all of you, and I will see you next time here in my AV room. Not yours, my AV room. Well, I guess it could be ours.